this might be the way of playing Kashtira. So this deck is finally as good, if not better, than I thought it was going to be post-support. We finally have Scareclaw Kashtira. Not only did we get all of the Kashtira support as that we were expecting and we were waiting on to make the deck really good, we also got triple tactics thrust, which is just amazing for any deck that wants to go second, and it even helps going first sometimes as well. This deck is honestly incredible. I had an absolute blast. We were just getting wins back to back to back to back. It was just, man, it's incredible, right? This deck is just phenomenal. You have so many cards that just automatically win you the game. It's unreal. You have a Raise Heart, which automatically wins. You have Thrust, which I'm going to show you replays where it just wins by itself, right? There's just... The deck can break board so much more effectively. It doesn't need to run tons of copies of all of these bad cards because now we have a singular sort of search point. I really actually want to play this at 3. Thrust is that good. But the rest of the deck, again, your deck is packed with 1-card combos. You've got the Unicorn, 1, 2, 3 1-card combos, 6 1-card combos, 9 1-card combos. You've got 10, 11. You've got 12 with this field spell here. You've got so many ways of going into either a full setup, I'm going to stop you from playing the game board with your Kashtira cards, or I'm going to beat your ass with Scareclaws, and the dichotomy is just amazing. So I'm not going to ramble about it too much at the beginning here. I am going to do a card for card deck profile at the end of the video, so if you're not overly familiar with the deck, or if you're just curious, you can of course stick around and watch the card for card. But before you do that, do watch the gameplay, because you're going to need to understand the general sort of play style. I'm not going to say we hit every objective when we were playing these games. There's a couple of other things I would want to show off, which we may do in future videos or in future live streams, but these games were just too good for me not to show. I'm not going to lie. We got them all live on a Discord call with a bunch of members of the Discord. We're just in and we were just chilling, playing some Scareclaw, and it was just an absolute blast. So if you want to be more involved in things like that as well, you can of course join the Discord in the link below. We're almost at 300 members now, which is... it's getting pretty big, you know? There's a lot of people in there spitting out ideas. It's super helpful. Honestly, that's usually where I go for like content ideas or video ideas. I ask a lot of questions. I answer a lot of questions. I jump on voice chats to people, anything like that. It's a really fun place. So if you're interested in getting more involved in the community, Discord's there. Like, subscribe to catch more videos as they're coming out. And if you definitely want to show a little bit of support more, then you can join us as a member using the join button or the link in the description. But I'm done spitting things at you. Let's get into the gameplay. Already getting into replay number 1. Now, for anybody who's curious as to why we're using all lab accessories, I just started doing that to try and throw people off so that they don't know what deck we're playing, like right off the bat. So here in a situation like this, we may see our opponent gearing up to face a Labyrinth player, when realistically that's not going to work. So just a small little tidbit I wanted to mention. They're going to go for Unicorn. We're going to imperm that Unicorn. They're playing Sword Soul Kashtira, which is a really fun strategy. I really want to play around with that with the new support. I don't really know how well it's going to mix, but I'm going to find out. So we're going to get hit with the call by on the Ash Blossom. No, that emergence is in fact going to resolve, but is it going to be useful enough? They got 2 cards remaining in hand. What's the likelihood of one of them being a worm? They're going to grab the Mo Yi here. Normal the Mo Yi, activate its effect, revealing a strategist in hand. This guy's hand is just cracked. We're going to go into the Shizao. Shizao then gets searching, Mo Yi draw 1. Pretty standard Sword Soul plays here, not really anything groundbreaking. But again, us using up our negations and things on that Unicorn opened up his Mo Yi, and that's one of the biggest points of the deck, right? They're going to go Strategist, pitch Vishuda, summon itself in a token, using the token and the Strategist to go into the Sinister Sovereign, double banishment on the Sinister Sovereign, 1200 to the face, and passing turn. So this is like a board that I would build in Sword Soul if, like, I wasn't afraid of evenly matched. The only reason I would ever aim to go into Baron over the Sinister Sovereign is evenly, right? But Sinister Sovereign in general is a really high value card, right? You get double interruptions off of it because it banishes a monster and a spell or trap, and right now with so many continuous spells like Kashtira Birth and so many field spells like the Kashtira field spell and things going around, having those banishes not only acts as, well, a banishment and extra damage, but it also serves as an interruption. So this guy is really, really good value, double interruption, but he doesn't have the safety that Baron brings. So let's get in and let's see if our opponent can handle this. We're going to go for Rykart right off the bat. Rykart getting negated by the Shizao. Shizao, of course, being able to banish a card, target a monster in field, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So Rykart is in fact negated, and the Unicorn's going to banish the Baron de Fleur from our extra deck. That does actually come up later. We're going to go into the Lightheart here. Lightheart searching our deck for a field spell, but it is going to get banished by the Sinister Sovereign. That's a bit of a problem here because, yes, while we do get to grab the field spell, that was a very good banish for our opponent because we've already used our normal summon. And now that we've grabbed the field spell, he can banish the field spell on activation in order to prevent us from resolving its search effect or anything like that. And now we also don't have a Scareclaw on field for us to special another Scareclaw out. Under normal circumstances, this is basically where Scareclaw would just die, right? This is, you're done, finished, finito, Scareclaw is done. Luckily, we have a rival in hand already, which, again, you ideally would have had to search for, and we already have the Scareclaw Kashtira. So we're actually still in a position where we can play the game, even though regular Scareclaw would have just been finished. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the planet, but we're not going to use it. We're going to go for a rival, see if we can bait the banishment. We don't bait it, but what we're putting ourselves in a position to do instead, we're just gonna beat that ass without even using the field spell. We're not even gonna use it. We're just gonna summon out all of our Scareclaws. We're gonna link 3 raw into the Scareclaw Tryhard. Not even gonna use. We're gonna use its effect here. Flip them all to defense, grabbing the Astra back from the graveyard. Then we're gonna grab Balloon from the deck here, special summoning a Balloon out underneath the Tryhard, swinging in for 2 different attacks, piercing damage. Bringing our opponent down to 5300, pretty close to ourselves so that we're not too worried about a Psychic End Punisher. Then main phase 2, we can go in, use the Primitive Planet, search for Rykart for follow-up, and then we're going to use the Primitive Planet's effect, pump the Unicorn. So now he doesn't have his follow-up searches. We've completely wiped his board, playing through Sword Soul, which is still a top-tier deck. We're going to go Scareclaw. He just has another Unicorn because he's just that guy, right? But Unicorn by itself going to grab him Birthing and a normal summon to Moyi, but Moyi didn't have any targets to reveal in hand, so unfortunately it sucks to suck. Pretty good game though, honestly. Being able to play through a what would you call it, a Sword Soul board is pretty neat, right? You know, Sword Soul's still a top tier strategy. You're still going to be seeing it here and there, especially with the Kashtira cards mixed in. I am actually really excited about playing Sword Soul Kashtira. It's just during this whole period where I'm recording this, I'm really busy with sort of a bunch of different projects. So I haven't had the time to fully test a lot of different decks just yet, but that one is definitely on my list. But yes, again, if you enjoyed the game, like, subscribe, into game 2. Yeah, buddy. Alright, into game 2 here. We do have a we have a disgusting hand. So this replay is more just to show off how silly some of the new cards are, right? And not even the cards you're thinking about. This hand is disgusting, and a lot of people are complaining in the, you know, in general on community forums and things like that, and different Discord servers, our own included, that Kashtira is cool and all, and the new cards make it really powerful, but it's pretty inconsistent. And I haven't experienced that because I keep opening hands like this. You watched my Kashtira video. I'm hoping if you're watching this, you've also watched my Kashtira video, where we just constantly opened up these crazy hands. Now, we also still had the combos and things, so it didn't matter. I'm just rambling because he's playing heroes. We've commentated over heroes so many times. I don't understand why you're going to bring heroes into this economy, in this meta, but I appreciate the testicular fortitude it takes to slap heroes in your deck and call it a day. I absolutely appreciate that. So I'm gonna let Mans pop off here. I'm actually going to speed his turn up a little bit because he is dragging his heels a little, but it's a pretty impressive board he sets up. It's pretty much like your ideal end board he's able to establish here, going Stratos searching for the plasma, and then we all sort of know where this goes. So they've got essentially Diana Riceheart, they've got the Macrocosmos on legs, and he also gets to snipe a card out of our hand. He has the skill drain on the 2500 body. 2500 is pretty decent as well, so now as long as this guy's face up, all of our monsters have our effects negated. And Sunrise, basically if we try to attack into any hero he controls that isn't Sunrise, Sunrise will allow him to pop a card on the field once per turn. He also is providing an attack boost of 200 per different attribute they control, so that's a total of 600 for their 3 different attributes. So that's a pretty decent heroes board. Unfortunately, we drew the one card that outs everything. We drew triple tactics thrust. We're going to activate the pressure planet. We're going to grab ourselves a unicorn here. We need to bait him into using a monster effect. But again, he has Darklaw on field, so that's very easy to do. All we need to do is search for a card and pray he doesn't banish thrust. If you have smaller testicles than I do, you probably would have want to set thrust there just to make sure it definitely doesn't get banished. But when you're as good at the game as I am, you just don't worry about it, right? So you're going to activate the triple tactics thrust. We're going to grab triple tactics talent from deck. This is just stupid. Talent going to grab the plasma from the opponent. And from here, it's pretty much GG's, right? Because look at what we're doing right now. We're in a position where we can basically do literally whatever we want. We get to steal his most powerful monster, then we get to steal his second most powerful monster, and then we get the normal summon Astra and go into a crazy Scareclaw combo. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that because our opponent very quickly surrenders. But you know what I mean? Like, we had the full unicorn setup. We could have just skipped over that entirely and just went for like the unicorn plays, but I didn't want to do that while they still had plasma. We could have had the full unicorn, search for birth, have Theosis in hand already. Could have went crazy with the Kashtiras. Gonna go on absolutely nutty with these Scareclaw cards, summon the Astra, normal, into light heart, search Reichphobia, go for the Reich card, and it just goes nuts, right? And then we also had his two best cards on our field because of thrust. Insane. Thrust is just so good. This wasn't really a showcase of the deck, this was a showcase of thrust, right? And I really wanted to because that card is so good in this deck, it deserved its own replay. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super tempted to play it at 3, but I'm not gonna ramble. Let's get into game 3. Alrighty, I only vaguely remember what happened with this replay because I know he's playing Math Mech, but I'm pretty sure he dropped Stroll for sign-up mining. This actually made me really nervous, right? Because I looked at this and I saw, if you're dropping Droll from your hand has to be fucking busted, my guy, right? His hand has to be stupid good. We are going to ask the sign-up mining here, and I think they just pass. Yeah, they just pass. So I guess it wasn't that good, right? Fair enough, I was wrong. We're going to draw into the Rise Heart. Pretty useful draw, kind of. It does help us unbrick in a situation where we get hit with the likes of an Imperm. It happens, fair enough. I guess the last 3 cards in his hand are still useful after all. We're going to go for the Reichphobia. That's going to get Ash Blossomed. Okay, I get it, that's fair. So Ash Blossom negating the Surge off the field spell as well. We're going to go for Rise Heart though, and we're going to now get hit with the Maxi. So his entire hand was sign-up mating, Droll, Imperm, Ash, and Maxi. So we're not going to let him draw too many cards here. We summon the Rise Heart, let him draw 1, that's whatever. 25 to the phase. Me in phase 2, we do decide to go into Shangri-La. The 1 extra draw, in my opinion, I think is worth it here. Because me in phase 2, that means we're going to be able to play a Fenrir onto the board. And Fenrir is going to be very solid in stopping a Math Mech player. They're going to go for the Circular here, sending the Sigma. We're going to chain to that the Maxi that we have in our hand. The Maxi does actually resolve. So now we're putting him under the same pressure that he put us under. Drawing in the Parallel Exceed. We were initially playing Parallel Exceed. It was an idea one of our Discord members. There's going to be like a crazy complex combo version of this deck that I'm bringing out down the line once I have a bit of practice with it. We did end up cutting this just to keep the deck a little bit more straightforward, but the cards you're going to see played are all the same, right? The only difference is Exceed is in hand. They're going to go Sigma here, linking off Sigma in the Lingaribo here. Lingaribo then, of course, being able to negate trap cards. They're going to go for Parallel Exceed. Parallel Exceed summoning itself out, going to use its effect to summon another copy of the Parallel Exceed from the deck. We're going to Ash Blossom the Parallel Exceed here to negate its effect. And at this stage, once this chain resolves, I'm pretty sure our opponent just scoops it up. Yeah, they do. Now they still had plays. They could have gone like into Splash Mage and then Splash into Transcode. Transcode brings something back with the Access Code Talker and maybe did something, but I think he surrendered because that would have given us like 40 cards and we would have just crushed him on the next turn anyway. He would not have been able to OTK us through that, so he would have been able to clear the board, don't get me wrong, he would have been able to clear our monsters, because, you know, he would have had 3 different attributes engraved, you know, banish 1 for Fenrir, banish 2 to get rid of the materials for Shangri-La, finish Shangri-La by battle, wipe out our monsters, but then we would have had like 8 cards in hand, we would have had Astra, we would have had Exceed, we would have had all of these crazy starters, and yeah, it was just not going his way. So he scooped it up. Sometimes you just gotta take the knee. Easy as that. Normally we only do 3 replays per video, but because of the thrust, replay. I'm going to do number 4. Alrighty, getting into game number 4. We are actually going first this time. This was another replay with the Parallel Exceed. Again, I don't believe we used it, which is why we ended up cutting it eventually. We're going to go for Unicorn Searching Birth because we already had Theosis. Theosis then brings out Fenrir. You're going to be very familiar with this combo. This is the bread and butter Kashtira cards. We're going to grab the Scareclaw because we already have Rise Heart. We might as well. Going into Shangrira, triggering off Rise Heart's effect, banishing a card. We're going to mill 3 from the opponent's deck. That's going to trigger Shangrira and allow us to go into the Rise Heart off of our regular Rise Heart. Going for Kashtira Birth, we're going to use Kashtira Birth. We're going to bring back the Unicorn that we had on our banish pile, and we're going to end our turn. Just like that. We don't need to do anything stupidly fancy. Shangrira then is going to summon Fenrir from the deck during the standby phase. They're going to go for Pot of Prosperity here. It is a mirror match, just in case, you know, you're not aware. They are playing some sort of tier limit. I don't know if it's actually tier limit Kashtira. I think it might have just been regular Kashtira with like Visa Starfrost or something like that. Or maybe just playing like the tier limits Kashtira. But they weren't actually playing a tier deck, right? Okay, they're going to go for the card here. They search for Siren. I actually do remember this. Yeah, no, they search for Siren here. Siren going to drop a monster from the banish pile, dropping the Scareclaw Kashtira. We're going to use Fenrir's effect to banish the field spell. Unicorn's effect to get a little peek under the hood here. Now, the thing is, so long as our Rise Heart is on the field, his tier limit monsters are literally useless, which means his tier limit fusions are also useless. So we don't really need to get rid of them. We're going to get rid of one of his Rise Hearts. I think he may have only been running one. I think he banished the other one off of Prosperity. So we're going to go for the Rise Heart. Again, we're just going to continue to grab materials here. We're going to lock up the entire field of monster zones using the Shangrira here. Now, we had 2 options on resolution here. We could have used the field spell, popped the Siren, and then sort of waited until... and kept our Rise Heart effect. Or what we could have done, to be extra disrespectful, we could have used a Rise Heart effect to banish the Siren to use Shangrira to lock up the last monster zone. I didn't want to commit to that play just yet though. We're just going to continue to steal his shit. And there you go. That's just Kashtira. That's just how we win games with Kashtira. Kashtira Scark. Again, that's the beautiful thing about this, is that the Kashtira cards themselves have finally patched the hole in Scareclaw, that you now have a turn 1 play, a turn 1 board, and not only a board, but one that wins games and sets you up for follow-up for your next turns. It bleeds into your regular engine. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love it. This, honestly, low-key, I've been playing around with the Pure, the Punks, and whatever. This is my favorite version so far. Far and away. 100%. Let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, here is the deck. If you got this far into the video, if you watched the gameplay and everything, absolutely. If you enjoyed watching the games, please like the video and subscribe. Every little bit of support definitely does help out. We're going to go into a detailed card for card breakdown of the deck here, just so that you understand fully what it is we're playing, why we're playing it, why we're playing certain cards over certain cards, why we cut certain things, just so that everyone's on the same page here. But yes, if you got this far into the video and you want to show any level of support, all it takes is pressing subscribe and pressing the like button. It's completely free, doesn't cost you anything, helps me, helps you, everybody wins. But anyway, let's get in and we'll talk first of all about the hand traps. I like to get the hand traps just done and out of the way so we're not thinking about them as we're moving through the profile. We got the triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, double Call By, and single Crossout. Pretty standard cards. You definitely want to be playing those in any decks that are in any way susceptible to Maxi, which is all of them. So you definitely need to be playing your answers to Maxi. And playing Maxi yourself. Best card in the game. Don't listen to anybody else who tells you anything to the contrary of that. It's the best card in the game, and you need as many answers to it as you can get. And in terms of the spells and trap sort of interruptions, we're playing around a card here, Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is so ridiculously good. It is actually insane. What I would say is normally I would consider things like this and this and this to be like extra cards like hand traps. I'm not even going to do that. It's so good that I can't do that. I will grant you 1 Imperm is optional. 1 Imperm is mandatory. You can play more if you want. I play it at 2. But 1 Imperm is mandatory. Triple Tactics Thrust at least 2. At least 2. I will play it. I'm honestly super tempted to play it at 3. I think it at 3 is going to be fantastic. but you need to play at least 2 of it. It is that good. And then you've got the Lightning Storm and the Tactics as targets to be searched for off of Thrust, right? So you've got... Look at the... So let's talk about Triple Tactics Thrust first of all, just so that I can get this done and out of the way. If your opponent has activated a monster effect during your turn, you get to grab a normal spell or trap from your deck and either set it to the field, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand. That's big, right? And it's big going first and second, right? It's not like Tactics, which is only really super good going second. It does have some utility going first, of course. But people can mostly play around it when you're going first. You can't really play around this because it's not the phase, it's the turn. So Triple Tactics Thrust, essentially, if you're going second, it allows you to grab any board breaker you want. You can grab Lightning Storm, you can grab Triple Tactics Talent, you can grab Imperm, you can grab Evenly Matched if you're so inclined to play it like that. You can just grab all of these crazy cards, right? You can also, if you want an extender going second to try and break through boards, you can grab Rhoda, you can grab Theosis, you can grab Arrival, you can patch a hole in your combo. If your opponent hits your Scareclaw Rykart with an Imperm, we'll just Triple Tactics Thrust, search for your Arrival, right? If they Imperm your Unicorn, okay, we'll just Triple Tactics Thrust, search for your Theosis. Well, assuming they've also used a monster effect like Maxir or whatever, you know what I mean, right? You can use this to either patch the holes in your combos or just break their board, right? And going first, it's still useful. If your opponent hits you with like an Ash Blossom or something and you're going first, you're still able to use this to set the likes of Imperm, to set Twin Saw to the field, so that you can still use these cards despite your opponent having hit you with a hand trap. So Thrust is just incredible. Absolutely. Mandatory card in this deck. I think it's just such a big difference maker. But anyways, this isn't Triple Tactics Thrust deck. This is Cash Scareclaw. Let's get back on topic. I just love this card so much. So, let's talk first about the Scareclaw package. So we're playing a double of all the small guys. We got Astra, Balone, Acro. We got triple Rykart, mandatory triple. Absolutely. You can play these guys at 3 if you want. I wouldn't recommend playing them at less than 2. But you can play them with 3, definitely, for sure. I just wanted to save space a wee bit. We got the triple Rykart, we got the 1 Visa Starfrost, which is kind of like an in the middle card. Scareclaw Kashtira, I guess, is also kind of in the middle, although I do count it more as a Kashtira card, for sure. We have Arrival, we have Twin Saw, and we have our double Phobia, and that's pretty much for the Scareclaw cards. So let's talk a little bit about them. So, first of all of your Scareclaw monsters, all, 9 of these monsters, all 1-card combos. And the reason they're a 1-card combo is because what you're able to do is you're able to normal summon any of these guys at all. You link that off into Scareclaw Lightheart. Scareclaw Lightheart will activate to search for your field spell. Your field spell, on activation, will search your deck for another Scareclaw monster or a Visa Starfrost. So if you haven't already used the effect of a Rykart, what you can do is you can normal summon, say, Balone, right? Normal Balone, link it off into your Lightheart, then you're able to use Lightheart to search Phobia. Phobia then on activation will search your deck for the Rykart here. Rykart then, and the way they all work as well is they can all special summon themselves to a zone adjacent to another Scareclaw. What that basically means is that you can summon it beside another Scareclaw. So because you have Lightheart on the field, you can directly special summon Rykart to the zone right underneath it. So you can summon Rykart right away. On summon, this guy searches your deck for a Scareclaw card. You will search your deck for Arrival, assuming you don't already have it. Search your deck for Arrival. Arrival will bring back the first Scareclaw monster you used for your link summon. In this case, we used Balone, right? So we bring back Balone. Now we've got Lightheart, Rykart, and Balone. Link 3 into your Scareclaw Tryhard. All of that off of a singular normal summon of any of your Scareclaws, right? And if you start with a Scareclaw Rykart, you just search for Arrival, go into Lightheart, and you do the whole combo anyway, right? It all works the exact same. You just search for a different Scareclaw, special summon it, then use the Arrival that you still searched for to bring back the Rykart, and it's the same shit, right? Just a different order. But literally any one of these guys, one normal summon gives you full combo, right? And that's really good because none of these guys need normal summoning. right? None of them need normal summoning. So what you're usually able to do is you're usually able to, if you have Unicorn at your disposal, you start with your Unicorn, set up your Kashtira. You do not do Theosis or Rise Heart until you are committing to Exceed. But if you can special Unicorn, use it to search for Theosis. That's all you need to do. You just hold on to Theosis and you don't do anything else for the rest of the turn, right? You just grab Theosis, hold fire, do all your Scareclaw cards, and then once you're finished with Scareclaw, you then will use Theosis. And then you do all of your Kashtira shit, right? And that's like best case scenario. That doesn't happen all the time, but if you manage to do that, you're not losing that game. So all of these guys are one card combo enablers. So let's talk a little bit more about each individual card though. Astra, Balloon, and Acro all special summon themselves adjacent to another Scareclaw, and they all grant an additional effect to a Scareclaw Link monster in the extra monster zone. Ideally, your Tryhard. So they don't actually do anything themselves, but they give your Tryhard additional effects. Astra allows it to attack a number of times equal to the number of defense position monsters on your field. Balloon allows your monster to do piercing damage, and Acro will boost it by 300 attack for each defensive position monster on your field. So attack multiple times, piercing damage, bigger monster. That simple. Rykart, on the other hand, will on summon search your deck for a Scareclaw spell or trap card, and if there are 3 or more defense position monsters in the field, you also get to draw a card. Pretty decent value. So basically you'll search your deck for your rival, for your combo, or if you've already got a rival, you can search your deck for Twin Saw, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, so it's just a search card consistency, plus you'll occasionally get that little draw 1, which is neat. It means that whenever you're like summoning your Kashtiras and things, you should usually consider summoning them in defense. It is a bit of a mistake I made on stream where I was summoning them in attack mode. But summon them in defense and you'll be more likely to get that draw 1. Visa Starfrost I'm going to mention here. Basically, if it's in your hand, you can target a monster you control with a different type and attribute from this card. You destroy that monster, and if you do, special summon this card. The way that is valuable is that this is a level 6 tuner. And you'll summon it by popping your Scareclaw Lightheart. We're going to talk about this card's effect later on. But basically, if you've already got like Rykard in hand and you don't need to search for it off of Rykophobia, you can use Rykophobia to search for Starfrost instead, and potentially set up Baron de Fleur on your board, as well as everything else, which is absolutely insane. So just something worth bearing in mind. It's not the most consistent thing in the world, and you definitely don't need to play this guy. If you don't have him and you want to save the UR dust, he's not mandatory to play at all. But he's definitely very good. Then we've got Scareclaw Rival. Scareclaw Rival is just Monster Reborn for Scareclaw cards. It's also not once per turn, which is very interesting. So you can utilize its first effect. It's a revival effect, targeting a Scareclaw if he's a Starfrost engrave and bringing it back to the field as many times per turn as you have copies of a rival, but we are only playing one. Its second effect though is once per turn. If a Scareclaw Link monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this from the graveyard instead. So it also acts as protection for your Tryhard, which is pretty neat. Then we got the Primitive Planet. Rykophobia has a few effects. On activation, search your deck for Scareclaw or Visa Starfrost, with the addition of the Scareclaw Kashtira that also allows you it allows this card to become like a level 7 bridge as well into various Kashtira plays if you're in a pinch. But normally you're going to be searching the like of Rykard, or if you already have Rykard, maybe another Scareclaw, or if you're like loaded on Scareclaws, just grab Visa Starfrost, right? So there's quite a few things you can do there. It also boosts up, it reduces all of your opponent's attack monsters by 100 attack and defense for each defense position monster on the field, and if there's 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, not just yours, the field, you get to pop a card, right? That is excellent for dealing with a number of different floodgates in particular. If you want to deal with an opponent's rivalry, if you want to deal with Goza match, you want to deal with those types of things. Not that I've seen those cards around, but this card is perfect for dealing with floodgates. So definitely worth bearing in mind. But this card in general is really fucking good. It is, in my opinion, better than the Pressured Planet. But the Pressured Planet searches a Kashtira monster, and the Kashtira monsters are pretty fucking solid, so... You know, I personally think that this card's a little bit better in terms of like the rest of its effects, but it's hard to compare searching for a Scareclaw to searching for a Kashtira, right? So, and then the last card we need to talk about is Twin Saw, which is basically just Scareclaw's version of Blackout. You tribute a Scareclaw monster, then target 2 monsters your opponent controls, destroy them, And if you control Visa Starfrost, you banish them instead of sending them to the graveyard, which isn't really going to happen very often. So basically it's just blackout for Scareclaws, which is neat. If there's a Link 3 or higher on the field, you can banish this card from the graveyard for the rest of the turn. Neither player can activate the effects of Link monsters on the field. So the reason that is relevant is because basically your Tryhard, this is the Link monster it's referring to, the Link 3 monster. Tryhard switches everything to defense and generally makes them a pain in the ass. The only thing that can't be swapped to defense though is Link monsters, right? So by utilizing the Twin Saw, you can also inhibit your opponent's ability to use Link monsters, as well as, of course, everything else because of Tryhard's inherent effect. So it is definitely, it's neat. This card's it's kind of gravy. Sometimes I don't know. I haven't really resolved it fully very often. It's a decent card in theory, and it doesn't like break your hand or anything, right? Because you just tribute any Scareclaw, right? So let's say you normal summon Rykard and you get hit with like Maxi. Sorry, I couldn't think of the name. Let's say you get hit with Maxi. Well, then you just search for Twin Saw Pass, right? Because that's like blackout. It's still pretty decent, right? So I like it at 1. I think it's decent at 1. But if you don't want to play it, your deck isn't going to suffer that much for it. But Twin Saw, I think, is definitely a decent enough card to include. So that does it for the Scareclaw package. Again, the Scareclaw package is literally very straightforward. I covered it in pretty much decent enough detail there. I think if you watch the gameplay as well, it all kind of makes sense, right? They're not very complicated. And Kashtira themselves, then we're going to switch gears here across. We're playing the 1 Rise Heart, double Fenrir, triple Unicorn, pretty standard. We're playing the Scareclaw Kashtira here. No Ogre, no Tearlaments, nothing like that. Don't need them. And then we're playing triple Theosis, which might be a bit much, but I like it. And we're also playing the Pressure Planet and the Kashtira Birth. So, let's talk about those. Fenrir and Unicorn are your two sort of main starter cards, kind of. So Unicorn, basically, you can special summon either of these two guys for free if you control no monsters. And Fenrir can search your deck for another Kashtira monster, which will ideally either be Rise Heart or Scareclaw Kashtira. Unicorn can search your deck for a Kashtira spell card, which is almost always going to be Theosis unless you already have it, in which case you can search for Birth. So Unicorn and Fenrir are both amazing. If your opponent activates a monster effect while you control either of these monsters, they also get additional banishment effects. Fenrir can banish any face-up card your opponent controls face down, and Unicorn will look at your opponent's extra deck and banish a card face down, both of which are very powerful abilities. You've got the Kashtira Rise Heart here, which can special summon itself to the field if you control a Kashtira monster, but do be careful about when you utilize that effect, because the moment you use it, you're locked into Exceed summoning. A lot of decks and hybrids with Kashtira do struggle with the Exceed lock a little bit, but Scareclaw can pace itself perfectly around the Exceed lock, right? It actually works seamlessly. If you do it in the order I described before, and I will describe it again once we've gone over the Kashtira cards, just so it makes a little bit more sense. But you can definitely outpace the Exceed lock. Just be aware that it is in fact a thing. You can also actively banish a Kashtira card from your deck. It then banishes 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down, and then boosts his level up to 7. You're usually going to use that to trigger the alternative summoning condition of Kashtira or Rise Heart. Oh, I'm still getting over the worst of this cold. Then we've got the Scareclaw Kashtira. Scareclaw in the name, which is huge, makes it super duper searchable. Makes it a revival target a rival target here. Makes it a Twin Saw target. So all of that, really good stuff. It special summons itself for free. So you summon it, and then you can banish a Kashtira or Scareclaw card from hand or graveyard. So it's basically just a free summon in a lot of situations, which is amazing. It's usable as link material for all of your link plays, like your Lightheart and everything. This card is also a 1-card, 1.5 card starter. You need to have something to banish for it. So it's usually not used as a starter, but technically you could. So yeah, I'm gonna count it. So I guess you have 10 1-card starters here. But yes, you can summon it for free. Its effect is pretty actually awesome in this deck. So this card can attack while in face-out defense position using its defense stat as its an attacking stat. So basically super heavy samurai up in this bitch. And if your Scareclaw or Kashtira's battle during the battle phase, you negate the effects of your opponent's monster, which is pretty dope. because Tryhard switches all monsters in the field to defense. So normally you're not going to be able to attack with your Unicorn, you're not going to be able to attack with Fenrir, so why have all those attack points if you can't use them? Instead, the Scareclaw Kashtira enables so many more lethal plays because at 2600 defense, it's able to use that defense to swing over an opponent's monster that may be blocking a huge attack from Tryhard. And Tryhard can already attack multiple times, right? So being able to use Scareclaw Kashtira to get either a little bit more damage in and push that lethal, or to clear out a monster to enable your Tryhard to go for lethal, it really does. It seems small, right? But that one extra attack, that one extra monster and body opens up the door to so many more lethal scenarios because you wouldn't have been able to attack with any other monster basically in any other situation. So Scareclaw Kashtira, not only a fantastic starter, a great follow-up, a great bridge between the two decks, level 7 free summon, Scareclaw free summon, does all of that fun stuff. It is also able to attack and defense, and it basically enables so many lethal situations. So 100%, this card is amazing. I would be pretty tempted to play this at 2. I think 3's pushing it. I think 3 is pushing it. Because you still need to have a card to banish and everything. And it is super easy to search for. Like, it's not as if you can't get access to this card. So I would be... I think 1 is fine. I don't think you need more than 1. Playing it at 2, I could definitely see the argument for, and I would be tempted to do that. I think 3 is much. I wouldn't play it at 3. I think that's a bit too much. But yeah, 1 or 2, absolutely. Kashtira Theosis, bonkers card. Target a Kashtira monster you control, summon another Kashtira with a different attribute from deck. Just silliness, right? Another thing to bear in mind though, this will exceed lock you. So let's briefly talk about how to play around the exceed lock. So basically, it's just as simple as this. Kashtira, like we talked about in our Kashtira video, plays through Unicorn. You summon Unicorn, it searches your Theosis, Theosis goes into Fenrir, blah blah blah. You saw it, game number 4, we did the whole combo. So the thing is, if you want to do your Kashtira plays and your Scareclaw plays all in one turn, then what you need to do is you first go Unicorn. Unicorn searches Theosis, right? Then you hold off, right? This can be used at any point during your turn so long as you still have Unicorn. So then you do your Unicorn, grab your Theosis, whatever. Then you normal summon whatever Scareclaw it is you're going to do. You're going to go Lightheart, Reichphobia, blah blah blah, do the whole combo I talked about and that I showed in game number 1. I think it was game number 1 we did the whole combo. So do the combo, get to Tryhard. Do not use Tryhard's effect. Do not use it. Just summon a Tryhard. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use Theosis on the Kashtira, Unicorn, and then you're going to do your whole Kashtira combo. So that's the order you need to do it in. You start Unicorn, search Theosis, hold off, do all of your Scareclaw plays, right? Summon Tryhard, but do not use Tryhard's effect, because the moment you use Tryhard's effect, you're locked in the Scareclaws. So summon Tryhard, but do not use it. Then Theosis on Unicorn, do your whole Kashtira combo that we showed in game number 4. And that we talked about before. Summon out your Arise Heart, your Shangri-La, all of these crazy cards. And then you can use, after all of that, you can then use your Scareclaw Tryhard to set up a couple of defense position monsters. And you can either use those defense position monsters just to reinforce your Tryhard for next turn. But what you should be using them for, that admittedly I wasn't, which was silly of me. But what I should have been doing is using the additional... that's not how you spell Cicada. I should have been using the additional level 3s to go into things like Cicada King, or the number 75. I can't type, apparently. I'm... Thank you, Master Duel. Appreciate it. So, one of these two guys. They're very, very identical. Of course, this guy's a UR, so if you don't have him, don't worry about it. Just go for this guy instead. I do kind of prefer the Cicada King, purely because I can use the effect twice. However, the Cicada King can only respond to monsters on the field, whereas they're both monster negates, but this can negate from anywhere, but needs to use 2 materials, whereas this guy can negate monsters on the field, but only needs 1 material, plus it gets to like 3k defense and everything, and it's a little bit difficult. It's more difficult to deal with. But honestly, the difference between them is so marginal that if you don't already have the Cicada King, there is no sense in going and crafting it just for this deck. And if you wanted to know what to cut for this, literally anything that isn't Scareclaw. You will never use these extra cards, ever. I do like Goddess. I do like Goddess, so I would probably cut Apollosa, and I would probably cut the Earth Charmer, if I'm being honest. Or maybe a Tryhard. Maybe you don't need 3 Tryhard. I just like having 3 because of the amount of Kashtira that's around. So I would maybe cut one of these 2 or a Tryhard, whatever, right? But yes, I would definitely be playing at least one of these 2 rank 3s. You don't need to be playing both of them. You only need to play one of them. So you could do something like this if you're so inclined. This is more attuned to what I would likely play going forward. But again, it didn't come up during testing, so I didn't even think to make the adjustment. But yes, so that's the Kashtira cards. That's how you play them. We do have the field spell as well, which does a whole bunch of things, but mainly it just searches for a unicorn. Its other effects are so niche that I'm not going to talk about them. This guy basically just searches unicorn. We have Kashtira Birth, which allows you to normal summon level 7s without tributing, which you're not going to use super often. Although its other effect, being able to bring back a Kashtira monster from your banished pile or graveyard, does make your Theosis live much more commonly, and is a great sort of follow-up option as well. And lastly, if you control a Kashtira and your opponent activates a spell card, you can banish 3 cards from their graveyard face down. Pretty great. I do like Kashtira Birth. I definitely think it still has a place. If you wanted to cut it in the aim of getting more consistency, I would totally understand. I absolutely get it. And then the last card I haven't talked about yet is Rhoda. Rhoda just searches for a warrior. Because we're playing both Reichheart and Riseheart, it gives us a couple of nice targets. So that's the main deck. Again, I appreciate that was a lot of rambling there, so I'm going to make the extra deck a little bit quicker here because we're mostly familiar with most of these cards. So Baron de Fleur, of course, just here is a generic level 10 synchro. Once while face up, Omni Negate that we can summon off of the Visa Starfrost and any of our level 4s. So pretty good card. Cicada King, I just talked about. Shangri-La and a Riseheart I've talked about in a lot of detail in my previous videos as well. So if you want like a full breakdown of those, you can check out the Kashtira video that I did a couple of days ago. But basically, summons Kashtira during the standby phase, can lock up your opponent's zones and can protect itself from destruction. This guy's Macrocosmos on legs, banishes anything that would be sent to the graveyard, and has an active banishment effect as well, that you can target an opponent's monster and banish it. So these 2 cards are absolutely nuts. Lightheart, purely a combo piece on summon. Search for Reichphobia. It does also have a niche little side effect as well that works with Visa Starfrost. Basically, if this card is in the graveyard and you control Visa Starfrost, you can summon this card back to the field. Now that's super useful because that basically means that if you didn't need to search for a Scareclaw off of the likes of Reichphobia, let's say you have Acro and Reichheart in hand, right? And it's turn 1, what you can do is, instead of using your Reichphobia to search for another Scareclaw, which is going to ultimately be useless, you can instead use it to search for Visa Starfrost, use your small Scareclaw to go into Lightheart, search for your field spell, grab your Visa Starfrost, special out the Reichheart that you already had, search for your Arrival or your Twinsaw or whatever, then you can pop the Lightheart to summon the Visa Starfrost. The Lightheart will bring itself back to the field. You can then use the Arrival to either go into a Tryhard for turn 1, or you can use your Visa Starfrost and your Reichheart to go into a Baron de Fleur. It really just depends on what other extenders and things you have access to. It is a very niche play, so if you didn't want to do it, I would totally understand. If you want to cut Starfrost and Baron, by all means, but it's neat. It comes up often enough that at the very least he acts as decent link material. Filler, I use a Unicorn, purely filler, never use them. We got Scareclaw Tryhard. Tryhard's your main boss monster. So long as he's face up, all monsters in the field are switched to defense. He's unaffected by the activated effects of defensive position monsters, which makes him pretty tough to deal with by some decks. Things like Sword Soul have some difficulty in dealing with this. They really have to go for something like the Vishuda or like a Shaman play to get rid of him. So he does force your opponent into suboptimal conditions. If he's in the extra monster zone, you can target a level 3 Scareclaw monster in the graveyard, special summon it, then you search your deck for another Scareclaw monster and add it from deck to hand. So that's how you're going to get multiple of your Scareclaw boosting effects in cases where you're going second and you want to break boards and no TK. Or if you're going first, you can use it to search for the likes of the Scareclaw Kashtira to help set up additional interruptions with your Kashtira cards. And lastly, Goddess to help deal with towers-like monsters, but again, they don't really exist in this format, so Goddess is kind of meh right now. So yeah, that's the extra deck. really straightforward. Again, we're playing like 3 of, 3 of, 2 of, 2 of, so it's not as if we have a ton of different cards, right? You don't have to play these ratios if you don't want to. You can drop late hard by 1, you can drop try hard by 1, whatever. You can put in more options. It just never came up for me. I just liked having the additional copies because I don't want to banish them. I don't want them to get banished off like a unicorn or whatever. So yeah, that's just me. But that's the deck. Let me throw up the full list here, including the hand traps, just so we can get another little look at it. So here's the full list, apart from the Cicada King, which I will include. Let's throw you in here. Let's drop the Apollosa. So here's sort of what my finished list would look like. And it's really fucking good. I'm planning on playing it a lot more. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time here. I've rambled on for the last 27 minutes. If you got this far through the video and you've enjoyed watching or listening or doing whatever, absolutely do me a huge favor and like the video. Again, it's free. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps me out. And you can subscribe if you want to catch more videos as I'm doing them. And if you're really so inclined, you can join as a member on YouTube or in our Discord. But anyways, I'm going to leave you to enjoy your day and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.